a little soy milk, and graham crackers before I go to sleep. Today's upload, I'm going to be reviewing episode 4 and episode 5 from season 2 of Futurama. Episode 4 is titled Fry in the Slurm Factory, and episode 5 is titled I Second That Emotion. So, episode 4, Fry's in the title, but he's not the only character in this episode. Pretty much the whole gang's involved in this episode. This here, I think a lot of these episodes can be considered satires to a certain point. This one is a look at, but it's multi-layered. But first of all, this one is a look at people's dependence on things that are actually causing harm to them. Yeah, like it's bad for you, but you still consume it anyway. Obviously, they're taking a stab at sugary beverages like soda and even that stuff that's advertised as 100% fruit juice. It's really from concentrate. You look how much sugar's in there. They both have roughly the same amount of sugar. Like a lot of times, they're over 40 grams of sugar in one can, which is a lot of sugar to be consuming in something that size. In my opinion, of course. Of course, I'm not a health nut. And the other layer to it is it's a play on Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, I believe, is the name of it. My dog. So, I mean, to be honest with you, this is another low this is another low ranked episode for me. I mean, it's not original. I mean, plenty of TV shows have did a spoof of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. They don't really do it. Okay, well, I take that back. It may not be original, but their take on it is unique in the fact that it's kind of dark. The whole time they're saying, "Hey, stop asking so many questions. Don't worry about what the secret ingredient is. Why are you worried about the secret ingredient? Don't worry about it." Um, and then they throw in stuff about unions and labor laws and just he's going for broke basically. So I guess that's a win. It's a win in that. It's a win from that point of view. In my opinion, it's a win from that point of view because they're going for broke. They're going for broke with it. Um. So anyway, man, I don't know. I don't know if I'm doing this with this. Am I giving away? Well, yeah, I'm giving away everything because this series has been on for a while. So in order for them, of course, in order for them to get a tour of the factory and party with Slurms McKenzie, they have to find a winning bottle cap. Well, that's silly too. They have to find a winning bottle cap, but the bottle cap's inside a aluminum can. I don't mean that. It's kind of funny. That's kind of funny. So they wind up. Of course, the professor winds up having an invention where he can, where he can use it as a portable X-ray, pretty much, and so they wind up. So Fry and Bender wind up getting their hands on this portable X-ray, and they look through all these. They say we looked through 90,000 cans or something like that. We didn't find anything with all this junk. And you look back and they're pulling a cart full of like the miscellaneous stuff, like a bike, t-shirts, coats. All this memorabilia stuff that you win as far as prizes go. I didn't stop the episode and go back and actually detail each item in the crate, but it looked like it was junk mostly. So, but anyway, they wind up finding a bottle cap, and they get to go to the plant. Excuse me. Slurm McKenzie is out front and he's partying, but it's evident that he's all partied out. And then they start doing the tour. Things start not to add up, and they wind up. Who was it? Was it Fry? And I'm trying to think who exactly separated from the group. I think it was Fry. Yeah, it was Fry, Bender, and Leela because Fry was thirsty, and they're riding on a river of slurm, or so they think. So he tries to drink it, but he falls in there, can't swim. Leela jumps in after him, and then Bender pops up and they're like, Bender, what are you doing here? He's like, everybody. He said everybody else is doing this, so I wanted to do it. I want to be part of the popular. I want to be popular. It's funny because it's a robot. To me, that's funny, So what happens after that? They find their way around the plant. Then they find out that slurm is nothing more than a discharge from a large space worm. But the whole time that they figure this out, Fry is continuing to drink the can until Leela's like, the smacks it out of his hand, and then he tries to go back and get it when the worm tries to crush them, and the worm smacks it out of his hand. So again, it's going to it's the story is pointing out the fact that a lot of people are addicted to things that are disgusting and or bad for you, because earlier in the episode when he's trying to find the cap without the aid of the portable x-ray, he's losing teeth from the slurm itself, which I think is it does happen if you consume a lot of soda. The acid inside it breaks down the enamel in your teeth. Fun. That's a useless fact that I have. But I'm still gonna have to grade this one pretty low as far as episodes go. Slurms McKinney goes out doing what he knows best, which is partying, which is like, okay, it's funny. It's funny. I don't know. Maybe I'm just not in the mood for this episode. Like I said, I've watched this series several times, but I probably will wind up watching it several more times. This just happens to be an episode that's a little bit lower for me. I wonder how. I forget how did it end? Was it resolved? How did it end? No, it ends with them having a chance to get Slurm stop the production of Slurm altogether, but Fry winds up actually having a genius idea in order to continue the production of Slurm, and they all wind up drinking Slurm at the end anyway. To Slurm's McKenzie. So speechless almost. Still funny. Oh, sorry, I got the light on in the background. Maybe I can try to cover it up a little bit. See if I can clean it up a little bit. That's a little better. Hopefully it doesn't affect the video. Definitely not recording again. All right, let's go to episode 5. This one is I Second the Emotion. So this episode, I'm gonna eat a graham cracker. Sorry, guys, or gals, or whoever's watching this. Sorry. Cinnamon. So, this is episode 5. Trying to see if I can get. Trying to see what I can get with this light won't affect the video. Now the light's right on me. Of course, my dog is wanting attention, which I have to give. because she's a good dog. Let me get back to the episode. So this is episode 5. I second that emotion. This one is mainly starring Bender and Leela, I say. But Bender's jealous of Leela's pet, Nibbler. I think I went over that episode earlier. Of course I did, because these episodes run in kind of like chronological order almost. So Bender's trying everything to get the attention of the rest of the characters or crew members and his co-workers, without that much success, because everybody's paying attention to Nibbler. Happens to be Nibbler's birthday. Nibbler breaks a tooth on Bender. Bender gets his head opened up by a giant can opener in the process. I also want to point out at the beginning of this episode, when they're running the credits, I don't know if this is the first episode that they've done it. I can't recall, but on there's a screen as they're rolling around the city, and when the credits are being rolled, there's a screen in the background playing an older cartoon. It's gonna bug me, so I'm probably gonna have to do a little bit of research and see what the origins of that cartoon or the significance of that cartoon are. But anyway, back to the episode. What was I at? Jesus, I have a spacey brain. Excuse me. Yeah, so Bender's jealous. He winds up flushing Nibbler down the toilet. Okay. Now, that's usually dedicated to dead animals, or mostly goldfish. At least, at my knowledge from sitcoms. So, one second. Come in here. Come on, in here. She's having a good time in there. But anyway, so at this point, Leela's crying, of course, because this also is something that happens in real life. If a person hasn't found a significant other, and they may wind up getting a pet, they're going to put that affection. They're gonna put that displaced affection. They're gonna aim it towards the pet that they've bought. In most situations, I definitely don't know everything about the world and how it works, but seems to be a logical occurrence when somebody doesn't have another human being to share their emotions with. Then they have a dog or a cat or a turtle or a snake, whatever it may be. That animal by default gets all their affection, which I don't think is anything wrong with. But as far as this episode goes, yeah, I had to get back on track. So he's crying, he's mad, but Bender's a robot. He doesn't have any emotions towards Leela, even though she is an alien and she possesses human emotions. He doesn't have anything. Oh, there we go again. He doesn't have anything as far as emotions are concerned towards Nibbler, except the jealousy, which is weird. That's weird. So he feels jealousy, but he can't feel empathy. Anyway, so at this point, it has to be rectified in some way. So in order to do that, they put an emotional chip, or they install an emotional chip on Bender. When they do it in a funny way, he's sitting in there he's sitting in the living room watching the show, and he's laughing, so he can experience humor or laughter or something funny, but just not pain or empathy. So then everybody jumps on him, and he screws his head off. They take the chip, and the professor puts it on the side of his head, and he's hitting him with the hammer. think he gets like one blow in, and it's almost all the way in, but he's missing so much. And Bender is going, shit, stop hitting me, which I thought was a pretty funny part. So he winds up getting the chip installed, and Bender they proceed to go through three characters before they get to Leela, because they can put Leela's emotional thoughts into Bender's I guess mind. I guess he doesn't have a mind, into Bender, so he can feel him. So when they get to him, everything's delayed, of course. So whatever she's feeling emotionally, he feels, but just slightly after. So that of course winds up making for good humor down the line. Like when she winds up getting so scared, he'll be sitting there emotionless, but then it'll register, and then he'll be scared, which is funny. Seeing the robot, the visual of seeing the robot scream like a little girl, it's funny. Okay. Um, so the episode continues, but uh, with Bender having this newfound emotional bond to Leela, he decides to follow or try and find. Um, I forgot the little trying to find her pet, but he's like, well, he's just standing in the toilet. He's like, well, this isn't gonna work. So he winds up taking himself apart and flushing himself down the toilet one by one, which doesn't make any sense because the torso doesn't fit. Anyway, he gets down there. Fry and Leela follow him. They get down there. There's rumblings talking about there's mutants down there. We don't know. There is mutants down there. The mutants kind of take them along. I think this is the one part where you realize this is probably the one part where this series is definitely dated. Uh, Aside from all the references towards everyday life and popular authors at the time, things that are popular when this show was first aired. Aside from that, it's the fact that the creativity behind these mutants. There's a pig lady with gills. There's a guy with an arm growing out of his head. There's a guy that's like, like, I guess he can't get it out of the crab position, if that's a thing. Of course, there's people with melted skin who are enlarged and wear replacement of eyes. Yeah, I looked at a lot of these characters to try and see where what direction the creative minds were going. A low grade. I'm going to give that a low grade. I still like this episode more than the last episode though. Um, because they went to this whole thing about subsewers and things like that. Because they like everything gets flushed down where they're at, and then anything they don't want, they flush down somewhere else. Just like what? This is kind of funny. So let me see here. So I know I'm being a little bit long winded here, but it's a lot that goes on in this episode. So they wind up trying to think. So they wind up finding Nibbler, but they believe that Nibbler is some type of folkloric monster that eats people and things like that. But they find out that Nibbler isn't the monster. It's actually another monster behind it. I forget the name. Something to do with the chupacabra, of course. But they they mix another name in there. I'm trying to think. Which is odd because we've seen Nibbler. This is Leela's pet. We've seen Nibbler consume much larger animals or creatures in previous episodes, but in this instance, Nibbler just backs away from it. So I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. It's capable of eating it. Why want to eat it? Maybe it doesn't like the taste. I don't know. I don't know. That was my attempt at humor. Okay. So they wind up defeating uh, the actual folkloric beast and flushing that down to the subsewer. That's what they call it. And that's the end of the episode. Uh, Pretty funny. I think it's pretty funny. You know what? I may be a little sleep deprived. It's close to my bedtime, believe it or not. Um, but I like this episode. It's pretty funny. Like I say, it they deserve a watch because they're made. Even though I've watched, I probably say this every upload. Even though I've watched this series several times and seen a lot of these episodes as reruns on TV, uh, a lot of these episodes as reruns on TV. I probably I'm not even close to doing this justice because there's probably so many little jokes and gags and like uh, points and messages inside these episodes that I'm just not even touching. But overall, I liked it. So tomorrow, guys and gals, or whoever's watching this, I have two movie reviews.